Hey everybody, welcome to a new episode of Average Joe Sports, the sports lovers podcast. Thank you for taking the time to listen to the pod today. If you could, please make sure to hit the like button. It helps the channel out a ton and also allows me to continue making more content just like this. So without further ado, let's get right into it. In today's episode, I'm continuing my NFL record predictions. And in first place, with a record of 12-5, and 6-0 within the division, I have the Green Bay Packers. Aaron is back. Does he have another MVP run in him? Bring back Randall Cobb. Sign Aaron Jones. Of course, now Devontae Adams is back as well. For how long, we don't know. Would he be out if Rodgers is out? Kind of seemed likely during the offseason. But now those problems are pretty much delayed for another year. So I will have to wait and see where that one takes us. New defensive coordinator. So let's see how the defense looks and if they'll need more time to get used to it after not playing much in the preseason, like at all. In the last preseason game against the Bills, we know that they sat like over 30 starters. Aaron didn't play at all during the preseason, but the defense, especially with a new defensive coordinator, you'd like to see them probably get a little bit more time, I would say. Where would Aaron go if he was to be traded? No, there's a lot of rumors swirling around. I'm not sure how true they are, except for inside of Denver, they're probably true. They seem to think that they're going to get him. Both of those teams, of course, in the AFC West, with my favorite team, the Chiefs. So, of course, I don't want him to go there. Anything that would further impose on Mahomes making the playoffs, I'm totally against, obviously. Now, if Aaron was to go to either one of those teams, I'm not saying he would run the division, but it would make it a lot harder for Mahomes competing against another Hall of Fame quarterback. And yeah, that's right. I'm putting Mahomes in the Hall of Fame right now. I mean, that trajectory, why not? Get a few more Super Bowls. Actually, 7 more Super Bowls because they'll end up with more than Brady, but I digress. I would like to see Aaron get another one. I'd like to see a Green Bay versus Kansas City Super Bowl. Will it get there? There's still a lot of questions that need to be answered. But in a relatively weak division that's having an off year, with Chicago trying to figure out the quarterback situation, Minnesota can always be either wishy or washy. And I mean, come on. Who's really counting Detroit in this division? Moving on, we have the Minnesota Vikings with a record of 6-11 and 3-3 within the division. Of course, Danielle Hunter is coming back, so he's always a defensive presence. Drafted O-line. We'll see how the new pieces do. They also draft possible Kirk Cousins replacement in Kellen Mond, which, with the little bit I've seen of him, I haven't been super impressed. Dalvin Cook looks to prove that he's one of the best running backs in the league. He's becoming a top 3 running back in fantasy. I've seen him go number 2 in a lot of places. So how will he look behind that new worked offensive line? And can he stay healthy for a full, now, 17 games? Also, can Justin Jefferson repeat what he did last year? I mean, busted onto the scene and ended up being the best wide receiver taken in a stacked wide receiver draft last year. Over 1,400 yards. I think clearly the number 1. I know Adam Thielen's there, but Justin Jefferson can only get better. Route tree is already nice. It's just the nuances that he needs to learn. The little things that he can do against certain players or certain player types that allow him to continue to get open. And if he does happen to go to a different team, or Kirk Cousins does get replaced, we'll see how he does, with hopefully a better quarterback that can really stretch the ball down the field. And also 3-3 in the division. Move into third place, obviously, behind Minnesota in second, based on head-to-head matchup. When will Justin Fields become the starter? I'm not sure why they don't just name him the starter already. The defense will be good again, led by Khalil Mack, but they are aging a bit, with no real accomplishments to show for how good they've really been. Now, whenever you do end up starting Justin Fields, whether that be early in the season or later, I think the key for him is going to be really learning how to read defenses and certain schemes. But if the NFL's teach us anything, it's that you need to become a great passer to become elite in the league. Now, like I said for Minnesota, there's no real dominant force in this division other than the Packers, I say. So if Justin Fields plays more of the season, I can see them moving on up into second place. And maybe, possibly, depending on how Justin Fields does, competing for the number 1 spot. Like I said, I don't expect that this year. For a team that hasn't had a 4,000-yard passer in over like 40 or 50 years, I'm sure every single Bears fan is chomping at the bit to see Justin Fields play as soon as possible. And in last place, with a record of 2 bitten kneecaps and 15 losses, I have the Detroit Lions. It doesn't look good in Detroit, guys. Is Goff officially a bridge quarterback, or do they really believe in this guy? I don't know how anybody could, honestly, if I'm just putting it out there. Honestly, have no good wide receivers. If you listen to Matthew Berry's fantasy show, funny show, go check that out. It's on ESPN Plus. Not a sponsor. It's just funny as hell. He has no Detroit wide receivers within like the top 60, I feel. I think that's what it was. But let's see how the rookies do. I mean, they got the other Amon St. Brown. They do have one of the better up-and-coming tight ends in the game in TJ Hawkinson. Now, another thing for him is also going to be whether or not he can stay healthy enough to stay in for a full 17 games, because we know Goff is going to need him. And I feel he's going to be fed the ball a lot. Upwards of 80, 90, 100 targets. Offensive line, bad. For some reason, you move Penei Sewell, who's one of the best left tackles we've seen in college in a long time, over to the right. You expect him to be a beast right away in a position he hasn't really played? I don't know. It's just a Detroit head scratcher. Detroit does these things that just makes you say, huh? And then when they don't work out, you're just like, well, why did you even try? We knew it was dumb. So give him time to mature, learn the position, and I'm sure we'll see some improvement. Lastly, I want to see what's next for Jeff Okudah. Comes out of the draft last year, I was really high on him. I thought he was going to be great. I thought Detroit was going to get like a lockdown defender on that side of the field. But rookie season come, and it was bad. It wasn't really good at all. So what can we see out of him? A top 5 pick in this year's season. And just a recap on those record predictions for the NFC North. In first place, I have the Green Bay Packers with a record of 12-5 and 6-0 within the division. In second place, I have the Minnesota Vikings with a record of 6-11 and 3-3 within the division. In third place, based off tiebreakers on head-to-head matchup, I have Chicago Bears with a record of also 6-11 and 3-3 within the division. And in last place, with a record of 2-15 and 0-6 in the division, I have the Detroit Lions. Thank you for listening to this episode of Average Joe Sports, a sports lovers podcast. If you could, please make sure to hit the like button, comment, and subscribe. And I'll be back with another episode soon. Thank you, guys.